All right. Mic check, mic check. All right, 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. The marathon stream has started, so we're gonna go straight into it. All right. Make sure y'all smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's see what these people got to say. All right, let's go right into it. I don't want y'all to miss anything. My bad, y'all. My bad. Here we go. Here we go.
Took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build, and there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. And we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again on Marathon or at Bungie. A few of the things that we've done over the last 24 hours and what we're doing to shore up the review process are as follows. We've reached out to Anti-Real, the artist in question, and followed up to ensure that we do right by this artist. We're auditing all of the previous work by the artist, the internal artist, including the environment decals already in the build, which is part of why we're delaying some of the content we're going to show today. And we're committed to removing anything that is questionably or inappropriately sourced. We're doing a very broad decal audit, and if we locate any other details or elements, we'll make sure that those are eliminated, recreated in-house for sure. Hundreds of artists have worked on this project for years, internally and externally, and we share many influences, including modernism, Swiss typography, 2000s style vector art, cyberpunk, and of course the original Marathon trilogy. Our style is a result of all of those inspirations. And it's also worth noting that none of our external partners who've worked on branding or any part of the visual design of our game were involved with this situation. And lastly, personally, I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for artists working independently and producing and making a living doing commercial or fine art. And we've worked with many of them. It's one of my favorite parts of the job is to make those connections and create content and collaborate. And so to that extent, I want to send my personal apology to Anti-Real, whose work was used in this case. And I know how unfair this feels, and we're doing everything we can to make this right with her. Her work is fantastic, and we clearly share mutual appreciation for a specific genre of graphic design, and it's very exciting, and I'm excited to have folded that into our style in general. So thanks for listening, and thanks for your patience.
So yeah,
Deegs, got anything
absolutely.
to
And
say?
thank you, Joe, for coming in and chatting with us about that. Yeah, if you have any further questions about that, feel free to ask them as we go along. We're probably going to transition now and just talk a little bit about Alpha. And Alpha was a big milestone for us. There was a lot of stuff that went into it. It was always intended to be kind of like a smaller slice of the game. Wits, right? As we were going into it. Feel free to talk, by the way. It was always kind of meant to be a smaller size of the game. It was always meant to be sort of like testing a little bit more of that like core combat and some of the baseline of the progression systems that we have, And it was really great to hear a lot of the feedback, especially from those who played the game, as well as people who witnessed it, and sort of get a sense of where everyone was attaching to certain things and where they didn't see as much meat as they wanted, or things that they didn't like at all, or things that they did really like, so there's a wide variety of opinions that sort of came about. A couple of things that we really learned, we really wanted to talk about though. One was the idea of sort of the core of the survival game, I know we talked about this a lot, Wits, the survival game being this like sort of idea of not just running through the environment and trying to survive other people trying to shoot you or the enemies, but like all the different challenges of trying to get out. And we feel like some of the bigger things that we missed on that we know we wanted to see, but we kind of like didn't land super well was like the idea of like resources and the survival economy. If you want to talk a little bit about that, Andrew.
Yeah, like we basically we were dropping like too much ammo, right? Too much heals, too much of everything, and so people were lasting the session for a really long time, and we just didn't really kind of push you out. And so we knew this was going to happen in the build, and so we've been really like focused on how we can improve that and get more hazards in the game. There's a lot more hazards in the current build. There's a lot more evil things we have in the game, as also like and half the guns are in the build, and so the other half are not in the build. So
Yeah.
you haven't even seen half of the weapons. I know that there was some folks that thinking that like that was the full library. It is not. It's like half the guns in the game, and they were dropping too often too. Like we were dropping too many guns, too many long shots. I know long shots were a thing. They
Long shots
too
were
easy to
OP,
get.
yeah.
We're focusing that.
Yeah, there's the core of it is ultimately we wanted more stories where there was about like using your resources wisely, and we didn't feel like we put people, or like we didn't put players in a situation where they needed to use their resources wisely, and as a result there weren't enough stories where it was like, oh, I ran out of this thing and I had to figure it out, or I really needed this thing and I was searching around trying to find it. And so we want to build more of those stories moving forward, and so we've been doing a lot of internal iterations. I know even our most recent build, we've stripped back a lot of those pieces, and we're seeing some kind of crazy stories come out of that. So so that's a big part of the survival economy. You talked a little bit about like kill players, Lars. So that's
toxic plants now that we have in Martian perimeter. So like going between POIs, you will have to keep a lookout for that. For the people who got real used to switching to knife and just going full bore, you're not going to be able to do that any longer in the game. So we're thinking about all those kinds of things, things in the world that make sense. Like the world really does not want you there. There's obviously the UESC. They obviously don't want you there and are trying to stop you. But maybe that's a good segue to, I don't know, Wits, if you want to talk about some of the UESC stuff we've been looking at lately as well.
We definitely we definitely know that the UESC they took a lot of damage. They took a lot of damage. They were like overly reacting, like hit reacting, and so we're looking at reducing what's called like first sighted, which is like they look at you and they're like you, and then they get into combat with you, and then they take some shots. We want them to be more stand their ground robots and
are out of control.
hit that killer mecha infantry fantasy that they kind of want to bring. So
they are so nervous.
For going right to combat when they
These
see
people
you.
are
Also, we
so
also noticed
nervous.
that,
You could
when
tell.
players were
Look at their
engaging in
faces.
combat, with the AI.
They're not
they were,
here.
like disengaged. They couldn't like. Kind
Their
of be like,
mind
okay,
is
like, I'm
somewhere else,
fighting.
bro.
How do I break line of sight?
It's
And
like
they kind of
stealth options didn't work as strongly as you wanted to, right? In that way.
Yeah, and so we're looking at that. We're looking at we had there's a few bugs we had where
They
you
pissed.
take out, like you have your knife and you take out like a recruit, and then like the entire POI, the entire like point of interest, like knows exactly where you are and they're running towards you. That's a bug we're working through right
They
now with
know.
the team. And so
Bro.
the intent is that
They know that they ass is grass. They know it. Like, bro, how could you go from that opening statement about the whole thing and go right away into the game? Like, if this is not the biggest deal on one of the biggest deals in social media right now, you are the. I don't even know if they're trending or not on X, but they should be. Because this information has, like, everybody has been getting a hold of it, and it's just been building up and building up. So everybody by now knows what's going on with the game. Don't just go into the, oh, what we doing in the game? What? Nobody cares. Like, bro, nobody cares. Go into the gameplay, show some gameplay, go do something to get people excited. This right here ain't it. This is not it. This whole Q&A that they're doing here, it's not it, bro. It's not it. Spend more time than just that opening statement in regards to what's going on online. Try to get people back on board. Because right now, anything that you're saying right now is going in through one ear, coming out the other. That's it. Look, they're just talking about the game like if people care. Nobody cares. This dude right here on the right his mind is gone. He's not even there. He is so pissed off. Look, his mind, he's not there right now. And Ziegler over here, he's trying his very best to still be enthusiastic and excited and this, like, bro. But you know they pissed. They pissed. And you know why they pissed? Because they got caught. That's why they're pissed, because they got caught. You telling me that none of y'all in that company, y'all wasn't aware? Like, that's what you're saying, that none of you were aware of the situation that's going on?
Totally makes sense, you know. I know another topic that sort of came up when it came
Yeah, a multi-million dollar company.
Right? Like, I know we talked about it internally. It's like
There's no way that you're just gonna hire a company to make your designs, your art style and things like that, and not look into it. So what? You just gonna that's like if you own a company, you hire somebody to do certain things for you,
Yeah,
right?
no, that was really good. We actually got a lot of good data.
You just gonna allow that that company, those people that you hire,
sort of being able
to just
like we
go and do certain things for your company without you having somebody look into that? Like, you can't do, that's not how you run a business, bro.
And so we're looking at all that data, and we also understand. I think you said a really important.
So they
thing,
brought
which
them
is
that
we
art
also
style, and they were like, yo, this is the art style right here that we came up with. And these people over here talking about, oh, that looks great. We're going to use that for the next game without looking into it. Like, oh, wait, let's do some research. Is there anything else out there like this? Did he get this from anybody else? Like, what? No, nothing. Just go, oh, that's it right there. We're going with it.
Population at least is dwindling a bit, and so our challenge that we're looking at right now is how do we increase the world danger over
The world
time?
danger.
And we can handle that in a bunch of different ways, but we've got some pretty neat ideas there. Like is it about complexity or requirements for exfils? Is it about increasing PVE or world resistance? Is it about pacing of the activities? I think the answer is all of the above, and so like we're looking at all of those things right now, and I think we have a lot of good knobs and tuning capabilities there. So I'm pretty bullish on our ability to make that. The longer you
I
stay
just
in
want
the
to see what
session,
they're going to show us.
the less safe you feel, but also the more you're like, maybe I should get out of here now. So that we want to increase those sort of
those
thoughts
pressures
from happening too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Joe, you mentioned
Look at this guy.
too.
Yeah.
And
Look at this guy.
that's one of the things that definitely touches art. And
Look,
one of the things
look.
we're hoping to show today, or show next week, is some of our fidelity improvements. I know that there were a few very work in progress areas that got a lot of scrutiny in the alpha build, such as like exterior lighting and a perimeter map, and some of our lobby. So art is full steam ahead on a bunch of those improvements. We're very excited to show. And then the other side of immersion is kind of the runner stories that we want to tell, and the kind of fictional fantasy. And to that extent, we're working closely with creative direction and the whole team to sort of really dial in some of that fantasy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the work that you guys are working on, which has been really cool to see. I mean, everything from we had a bunch of stuff we wanted to show today, but by the way, we decided not to show it because we're still scrubbing all of our assets to make sure that we are being respectful of the situation that Joe talked about earlier. But there's a lot of things we're doing to try to increase that immersion. I know we've even added like really like details that have sort of helped to make it a little bit more immersive, like the blood that runners bleed even in water and things of that sort as trails and indicators of damage that they've taken. I've also seen us like sort of putting more entropy into the world, where we see a little bit where the idea of the abandoned colony comes a little bit more to life on
For
places
sure,
like Mars.
yeah. Yeah, some of that stuff planned, some of that stuff definitely sort of heightened by the reaction to the cinematic trailer, which I think, I love. It seemed to go over really well, and sort of making sure that we're sort of following that fantasy, tuning those knobs to whatever extent we can, and just material response, occlusion, lighting, fidelity.
Lighting,
That
yeah.
does so much in terms of immersion.
Yeah.
From a technical sort of base experience point of view.
Even some of the foliage iterations.
Yeah,
The
some of that
foliage?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Bro.
yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening under the hood. Team is doing amazing work. Hopefully, we can show it soon next time.
Yeah.
And also the sort of whole lobby infill experience. We're all excited about delivering that whole sort of comprehensive fictional fantasy of being a badass cyber mercenary.
Yeah.
Heading down to do dangerous work.
Yeah, a lot of the UI
Who
that
is
we
this
went in
guy?
with was definitely in a temporary state too, and so for us, sort of finding a good way to make that a cohesive experience has been a lot of the effort that we've been on top of recently,
Yeah.
right?
We've always, paying off the cyborg fantasy has always been our a goal and a sort of carrot on a stick for us.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the fun part, and that's the stuff that really ramps up towards the end.
And there's sort of like two parts to that, right? There's like the cyborgy part, right? Which is like, oh, I'm this robotic entity. And then there's also the part where it's like, you are this mercenary. So you're
many
kind of
people
doing
watching
like
this?
the thing which is like,
Only
how do I
800
describe it?
people?
It's like, you're not like necessarily a good guy. You're not.
Only 800 people are watching this stream? Oh my. Oh my goodness. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
And you're
Everything that they're talking about, nobody cares. Because nobody cares. Bro, the main topic of what's out there is y'all stole somebody else's artwork. Why you over here yapping about the game and you don't even have, like you just said, there was certain footage that you was prepared to show us, and now due to the situation, you're not gonna show us. So what we doing here? Right? Wrap it up. Make the statement. Say what you had to say. Tell everybody, listen, due to the fact that this is all going down, we had things planned out. Unfortunately, it's not going to be able to go down like that. We're going to respect or whatever. We're going to look into it. We're going to have to move it to next week. So we'll see what we work out, and hopefully by next week we can figure things out. Blah, blah, blah. Case closed. End the damn stream. The hell you sitting up in here talking about the game like people care? You only got 800 people watching the stream, bro. You're Bungie. You only got 800 people? What we talking about over here? This guy right here on the right, he don't even want to be there. I'm sure Ziegler don't want to be there either, but he's putting up a front. He got his poker face on. This dude got no poker face. This dude clearly does not want to be there. He's pissed. They got caught, and they got to be sitting up in here talking about the game. He don't want to be there. This is ridiculous, bro. This is what I be talking about these companies. Like, who is running the PR department for these companies? Who? Because obviously that statement he read was a PR statement, all right? That's the PR firm handed him that paper. Read this right here. This is what you're going to read. He didn't write that up. This guy right here, that opening statement, those are not his words. Okay? That's a PR firm that wrote it up for him. So I don't get it, bro.
Focusing a lot more on effective time to kill in specific ranges of a weapon. So an example is the overrun. We were kind of like the overrun, the base gun in the game that you kind of start off with. We were kind of we were nervous
ridiculous
about like upping the damage on it because I know folks were like, this is kind of like not the best gun. It's like, well, it's the starter rifle that requires a bunch of attachments to kind of get to its like big power delta, and so it requires all that investment to kind of get to a good spot. We were kind of nervous about like just upping the damage onto it wholesale, and so what we were doing is doing a it's called like a skill ceiling audit, which is like how skillful do you to be to have like the gun in its base, like what we call like gray or standard state, which is no attachments, and then what is it like what is the skill demand at the floor, at the base, effectiveness. What are we asking for players? Like, how much aim skill do you need? And then, like, where are the major flaws in the gun, so that, like, when you're putting attachments in, you're build crafting, but also, like, removing as many flaws as you want in terms of, like, what you have a hard time controlling about the weapon. So we're doing that so that, when you feel like you're being taken out, it's like, oh, this person was good. And so when you're lower shields versus higher shields, you want to make sure that your guns are doing damage in the ranges that they're really supposed to. So if you get the drop on somebody, you should be effective, and it shouldn't be like you need certain rarity guns or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're working on that a lot. We have, it's a bit spicy right now, like there's some SMGs that are a bit hot, in the current build, but like we feel like they're appropriately hot when they're, you're in CQC fights, and so fights resolve in close quarters with a close quarters weapon, the way you expect. LMGs are, kicking way harder, a lot more demand there in terms of the recoil, which is great. We hit some of the snipers. We're actually kind of reevaluating snipers a bit, not like wholesale, like what are snipers, but more kind of like what are they at the base value where they're not like too effective. Because we definitely noticed the long shot had a lot of demand, and like, as expected in this kind of genre, snipers have like a lot of effectiveness in terms of like, and they have to kind of feel like they're lower time to kill. So yeah, we're working on making sure that the time to kill is great for the shield differences.
Let me refresh.
So when you're like,
let me refresh.
And there's multiple kills per clip that's possible with
it's like it's not guaranteed, but there's a way to win there.
There's a way to win, and that leads to the skill part. Like time to kill is always about skill. It's about effectiveness, right? And then like it's also about like window of opportunity as well, and it's kind of like how you triangulate like overall time to kill recipe. And so we're focusing on skill fidelity. We're focusing on every single aspect of that triangle. And so we're looking at, we have this like how many purple shield kills per clip, which is kind of like a spicy thought, but we're really iterating fast on that on the weapon side.
Cool. That totally makes sense. I know another part of like sort of the crew experience is also like the idea of like, do I have the tools to communicate with my crew, right? Like, I know we had a bunch of challenges with even voice chat for players inside of the game, and we're definitely looking into that in terms of thinking about how do we make it easier for you to even enable voice chat, or like how do we make that part of your flow so that you can do that. I know we've talked a little bit about ping system, how do we add texture to the ping system to make it easier for you to coordinate with your team if you're not on voice chat. And do you have any thoughts on that one? I know you and your team have touched the ping system, but
yeah, ping was in a very baseline state for alpha. Like I would say it was a very like it was a very MVP even for alpha state. And we weren't super happy with what kind of where the deficiencies of where it was at. And so we are spending a lot of this milestone really plussing up ping. And we're also looking at things called a communications wheel, which is like, how can you effectively communicate to teammates? How can you like basically ping things in a container? How do you ask for ammo? Stuff like that. So yeah, we're investing a lot on making that really feel intuitive and plussing up the crew play. And then we're also talking about some contract stuff too, Lars, like as well, about like the fabric of contracts between like multiple players. I don't know if you can talk a bit about what your team's cooking there.
Yeah, Lars, tell us about contracts.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of work. It was great seeing people's response to, I think, working along AI, like the sort of different factions. And so obviously we feel really happy with at least that first slice that people were seeing in the alpha, and obviously that was it was a small chunk of the content. And then sort of looking forward to when you're talking about crew play, like how do we lean into that? How do we make that more understandable? How do we sort of surprise and delight players around when they are working with a random match-made player, right? For example, how do we highlight those things? How do we make them understood? How do we reward in ways that make more sense? And how do we make you want to do those things, or like feel encouraged to want to do those things and work with, whether it's the people you pre-crew up with or the people you randomly got put in to matchmaking with, or whether you're trying to do it by yourself and, taking on those extra challenges. But I think the interesting part is now figuring out what things were working, what weren't. You know, I'll say, like, from my perspective, and this isn't the team's perspective, this is mine. Like, I think some of those things could have been more challenging, and so looking at that as well, and looking at contracts as like, there were some that were great where you're like, hey, cool, I can go download this audio file and now I can go throw myself off a cliff. You know, not a real example, but you know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to say, like, I did it. I think we want to take a real look at having a mix of things that are more difficult and challenging to do if we think about priority contracts, and then the other types, maybe they're a little bit more sort of backgroundy, like doing things. And so if that makes sense. So we're taking a hard look at all of them, and I think we have some really good plans there.
So hey, this is Cosmo. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions from chat, so I want to jump in. A lot of art questions. I have a question from WigXU. I have a question, a genuine one. Instead of scrubbing so many assets, would it not make more sense to employ the artist, who obviously has nailed the aesthetic you're looking for, and keep the assets as they are?
Here we go.
Sorry, Joe
And
Cross.
I can jump in with the answer unless you want to take it, Cross.
I know Cross he got kicked out of the Discord for some reason. Like, I'm starting on his machine, so that we might have a technical issue right now.
Oh my
do you wanna-
goodness.
They're basically asking, wouldn't it be easier just to hire someone to remake the assets?
This
as
is
opposed to-
horrible.
Sorry, do you want to repeat the question? Apologies.
Yeah, go for it.
This is horrible.
Can you repeat it? Yeah. Just so I can relay it to Cross, because
Instead of-
Cross can't hear you right now. But
Instead of scrubbing so many assets, would it not make more sense to employ the artist, who obviously has nailed the aesthetic?
The question was, instead of scrubbing all the assets, wouldn't it be easier to employ the artist who made all the assets?
Yeah, I mean, and for what it's worth, we're confident the majority of the assets in that capacity are original, created internally by our internal artists. We would love to work with Anti-Real if that's an opportunity that presents itself. I mean, that's part of what we sort of reached out to communicate. It's a very at this point, it's a very small sort of set of assets. The decals themselves are the kind of they're details that are sort of placed on the sides of buildings or crates or something like that. So we absolutely do need to replace them, and we would rule in sort of any sort of way of doing that, including contracting, collaborating, or working with the artist for sure.
Yeah, and additionally, I think
Yeah, it's a great question.
Just to sort of add on to that, additionally, when we run into situations like this, we also feel like something slipped through our net, and so we have to go back and look at everything just to make sure that nothing else slipped through our net, if that makes sense, because it caught us by surprise, and we want to just make sure that we're doing the right diligence to ensure it doesn't happen again. So either way, we're going to scrub all the assets just because we want to make sure that we didn't miss something else. But yeah.
Nasty work.
Yeah, but that's a good question.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of just like general. We're getting a lot of general questions in the chat, Cross, about like the overall aesthetic. Do you want to like speak to that and like kind of like where you're getting like the influence, where you're like making the art? You have to relay this question again,
Yeah,
Joe.
really. So there's a lot of questions just about where your inspiration for a lot of this art style and sort of like where that comes from.
Yeah.
Nasty
and
work.
How you think of the art style?
Yeah, I mean, it comes from a lot of sources, a lot of genres. I talked about it a little bit online, probably a couple of years ago. Graphic design is obviously a massive part of our game, and typography in general. That's one of the things I sort of am the most proud of in a lot of ways, is sort of the idea of elevating typography and graphic design to sort of the forefront in a game or in an industry that typically doesn't, I think is sort of safe to say. So in terms of that, the influences range from there's even some DNA shared, I think, with Destiny, with sort of Swiss modernism and that whole genre of sans serif typography, all the way up through 2000s, early 90s, which is where I mentioned before. I think there is a lot of overlap there in terms of inspiration with Anti-Real, the Designers Republic, vector art, that kind of thing. Just an example of sort of an exciting part of graphic design history that feels connected to, sort of naturally connected to games. The studio that sort of drove a lot of that worked very famously on a game called Wipeout, in a very early PlayStation game, which is a big influence for us. And then all the way up to sort of current trends, which may or may not be definable genres. There's sort of a deconstructed kind of minimalism. Anti-design is another genre that I've heard it referred to. And this is just specifically thinking about typography and sort of the sort of superficial layer of our branding and sort of world building. There are a whole slew of influences when it comes to architecture and character design and world building and natural palette. So it's all a big soup.
Whatever that means.
Awesome.
Whatever that
Let's
means.
see. Wrapping up the previous subject, which is like sort of on career play. I know that we've also been exploring internally, doing a lot more tests with mixed crew sizes.
He got that from the internet, by the way.
We're still thinking about how we want to approach.
But I've
the
seen something
idea
like that
of-
talking about Wipeout.
of not just 1vx, but like, are there different crew sizes that we want to support? Like, do we want to do
Then he's slick.
something that's more about solo duo, or things of that sort? We haven't really landed on a discussion point yet. Those are all investigations that we're sort of pursuing. So nothing we can commit to there, but we're definitely looking into stuff like that. We're also looking into ways that, you can communicate in some way with teams that are not your team. We don't know exactly what feature that could be, but we've
What?
been talking a lot about that. So we're looking into a lot of stuff on that front to sort of improve the overall like sort of social complexity of the game, but also make it better for matchmade crews and also crews of different sizes, whether they be ones, solos, duos, or trios. To find a
What?
good experience. So. Let's see. What is another area that we've been touching on? There's so many
Oh,
things.
my
Progression. Yes. Progression rates in the alpha were way too fast. Everybody went really far, in the alpha in a very short period of time. Some of it was a lot of stuff was being gotten out. Some of it was just our tuning on factions was way too fast. Some of it, I will say that like, that's one part of it that was true. Another part of it that was true was, what's up?
Money, credits.
Yeah, money, credits. Like, yeah, credits and material economy we're thinking about as well. Like we want to make sure that credits and materials have really distinct purposes for how you use them and that you feel the value of using them. Right now, we don't think we landed that super well in the alpha. It was a little bit muddy. And you end up spending a lot less money than you gained, and the credits economy was a little bit more grindy than we intended. There's a lot of things like that we want to support. Some of it is rethinking sort of how those things are distributed inside the black market, so different things that you'll buy with each one. Some of it is also, we know that part of our aspiration for the black market is that you are able to upgrade your way into sort of customizing what your black market does for you, gives you reliable ways to build the kit that you want to, especially when you're recovering, or if it gives you options.
Nobody cares.
And that's a little hard to do. It's a little hard to target which upgrades you really, really care about right now currently. So we're thinking about how to iterate on that as well. And we're doing some work already to improve that experience. And then lastly, there's like a lot of progression systems that we just simply haven't put in the game yet that we are looking to help sort of like make that journey a little bit more awesome, especially as you go further into it. Things like our archive system, which is a little bit more about achievements and collection stuff that we have, as well as there's additional other things inside of there like factions that you haven't met yet. But yeah, and we're also trying to take all of our factions and give them a slightly more distinct identity against each other. Right now, they read definitely differently from like a lore standpoint, but like how that folds into some of the upgrade systems and some of the contracts they ask you to do is not as distinct. So we're refining that as we go along too. So, yeah, those are a lot of the big beats of what we are tackling. What else was there in that list? I don't remember. Andrew, maybe you do.
I was gonna say it's a good amount.
It's a good amount. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
It's a good amount.
They
Like, yeah, I think
nervous.
the overarching
This is
deal
bad.
is like we definitely have gotten like a lot of points to improve on, and we're actively improving on them right now. And like some of our investigations for bigger ones, but I think like in general, the survival game being more robust is a huge one. Feeling more immersed in the world, having the world feel more alive.
Yeah.
You hitting on the fantasy of like being a runner, right? Like in what we call infill, which is like going from matchmaking into boots on the ground, you know, doesn't feel like super great right now. So we're actively working on that. Like I think there's all the gaps that we heard either from feedback or that, you know, were data that we looked at in the game of like how players resolve things. I think we have a bunch of big improvement points, and we're swinging pretty hard at all of them right now.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've spent a lot of time sort of beginning a lot of the work has already begun, but like sort of also just, you know, talking about all the sort of work we are going to do about tackling a lot of these issues as well.
So that's a good segue into a question from IonTK, who's asked, what's the biggest negative feedback from the alpha that the team is looking to change by release, or at least close to the period after release?
I mean, they're all pretty big points, I'd say. I think the survival stuff, like the run texture and the survival stuff, is probably one of the biggest ones, you know, because we're putting a lot of different points into it. Like we're thinking about how Lars mentioned earlier about how exfilling is different, you know, inside of the game. Like for example, we might change some of the rules around exfilling and sort of the way it works right now. We're also thinking about everything from AI combatants to resources to loot, all as part of that, you know. So it's a pretty big.
That's basically the game.
We're doing in that space. The other big area I'd say is actually the creative fantasy stuff, which we're really, really trying to land a little bit better, like the immersive fantasy stuff. Wish we could show you some examples, and we definitely will soon. You know, but there's a lot of work we're putting into that too, to make sure that it really feels that it mirrors the intensity of like the experience that we intend on the planet. You know, like really, a marathon is supposed to be about surviving Tau Ceti and the Marathon, you know, ship, and surviving that situation. Right now, it just feels like it's purely about surviving other players, and we want to really make sure that that all comes together, both from a creative and gameplay standpoint, in a really impactful way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest one for
I didn't see any of that in the
combat
playtest.
is just we need to make the game like we need to have a lot more options for players to kind of like resolve different scenarios differently, which is a hilarious statement, but like it's like you need to be able to, again, go to the point earlier, like you have to be able to peel off of AI, understand how to fight different AI, different players, how you get out, get more variety in there, and then being, you know, we did have a lot of good feedback around it requires 2 people to do anything in the game, or 2 or more, and also like how much you're reviving, and like, you know, at the time it takes that for that other enemy team to or enemy squad to revive, and how long.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that we're revisiting some of the rezzing stuff, but
the res stuff. We're changing how that works, so that, you know, when you actually do get a pick on an enemy crew, they can't res in the time that it takes you to heal to full, which I think was a kind of a big problem. So we wanted to make sure that you by yourself have more agency and can actually affect more change in the world, but also the world really pushes back a lot more on you. So I think that's probably the biggest trend of feedback on combat that we're actively, you know, tackling from a ton of different angles, like on combatants and on, you know, the runner side and on the weapon side.
Yep, and
so I got a question from No, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was saying from the art side, you know, it's focusing on immersion and sort of divided into fidelity, sort of the, you know, the technical side of our visual world, and then it's the sort of narrative. It's supporting the narrative of the runner fantasy, which there's a lot of work to do, and those are the 2 biggest takeaways for us from the art side.
My brother, nobody needs to hear from your side, my brother. You understand? From the art style, nobody needs to hear nothing from your mouth. End the damn stream and go get to work. You got to do this whole game all over again. This game ain't coming out in September. You got to rework the entire art style of this game. Because nobody's trying to hear that. Nobody. You got a lot of work to do, sir. I suggest you hit end stream and go back into your office and revamp the entire art style of this game. That art style that y'all liked about it, you know, with the way it looks, I don't know what to call it, with the robots and futuristic or whatever it is, scrap it. The game needs to look completely different now. Nobody cares.
The runner team is really figuring that out right now. They have some really good ideas. We're trying to basically
It's
learn
unbelievable.
from what we had in the alpha and then extend it in terms of like implants being a bit more interesting and kind of cores having a lot of the interest that people were kind of chasing. And so we're looking at how we can get
Y'all make sure I
plus some
smash that like
implants,
button, man.
a bit more so they stand up better alongside the cores. And then on weapons, we had perks only in like the upper tiers of attachments, like on purple attachments and stuff like that. So you'd have like, you know, a purple magazine that had a perk on it, or a purple barrel that had a perk. We're taking a lot of the perks and putting them into the chip attachment. And so they're not divided by the weapon or the weapon family anymore. Like the chips are generic. And so if you find a chip, you can put on any gun.
So it gives you more of like an anchoring element then, like this like verb that you can throw on a thing and then.
Yeah, and there's more chips at like lower rarities too. So we're really looking at how we can get more of that build crafting into the weapons versus like you need a specific thing, and there being more considerations for what verb you want to add to the gun overall.
Yeah,
So that's a big push that we're doing right now.
that's awesome.
This is
Yeah,
bad.
I mean,
So I got a
from an
question
art
from
side,
Ethan.
Real bad.
I'm super excited about the whole cosmetic side, the fashion game
What?
that
What?
we're gonna deliver. Our base characters have such a unique look and sort of specific to our visual world that it's a question we've gotten a lot about. What kind of range, what kind of aesthetic or visual range do these runners support? And their answer is all of them. So, yeah, we're very excited to start rolling out looks and sort of ways for players to identify more specifically with certain runners or styles or fashions.
Cool.
Unbelievable.
Cosmo?
So I got a question from Ethan. Has the team reconsidered its stance on proximity chat or exploring other ways to encourage
course
more
they
emergent social interactions between rival players
Of course
and
they
squads?
did.
Yeah,
Of
I think
course.
that's one of the areas that we're still brainstorming around, you know, is like, how do you use Signal to other people? Like, you know, the classic friendly, you know, like what's our version of that, you know? Or is there a way that you can use those things in interesting ways between groups right now? We don't have a solution to it just yet, you know, but we are talking through it right now. Yeah.
Of course you are. And by the time the game comes out, you might even have proximity chat in your game. I know you're
All right, I
talking
got a
about
question
it.
from Agent. Says, would love to hear about the materials for each faction. I feel like there's way too many faction materials and it's insanely overwhelming.
The materials for each faction. Oh, you mean for the upgrades, like to purchase the upgrades and stuff like that?
Right.
I think right now we're talking about the materials economy a little bit, you know, how it all aligns to different things. There's a couple things that I think we've learned from Alpha. One is that we want more materials that are kind of like a little bit more memorable and evocative, like we said. You know, we like things like
This game comes out in September.
because it just
The
kinda
way
has
these
this,
people
like,
are talking,
interesting, evocative.
it's
like,
like-
but you kind of
like if the
question
game is a
balance,
year
and so
away.
the creative theming of
That's
the
how they talking.
materials we're taking a
The
step
way
back
they're
on, but
responding, the questions that
but
they're
the other
asking
part of
them,
it is
everything
there's
that
a
they're
lot of
looking
materials that are all,
into
like,
to
sort of
fixing it
updated,
within the
like, they're
game.
talking about, you know,
Those are
like,
things that sounds like to
purples
me
and
like the
everything.
game is still a
Trying to make
year
it a little bit
away.
easier for you to understand the value of the
And mind you,
material,
this
know,
game
as
is
it sort
coming
of
out
is
in
used
September,
across
in
different
about
user
4
groups,
months.
like sort of
Look at all the things that they're
recipes,
talking about that they still got to fix,
like,
that they're thinking about,
upgrades
that
and
they're
things of that sort.
having
Different
conversations about and
rough
working
down
their way
type of
around it.
materials kind of thing, that we're looking into.
And then the
We do
latest
think
of
that
all,
it's less
is
about
the art
having
style of the
materials
game.
as opposed to it being clear how they're used, you know? Like, and I think
how are you going to do all of this
part of it is that we do want
and
there
have
to
the game
be
ready
diversity
for
of the
September?
things that you're
It's going to get delayed.
but it's about you associating
It's gonna get
the
delayed.
value that you're going to be getting from it. That's super important, and I think that we're still a little loose on that, and we're trying to tighten that up more. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a big pass on relatability and stuff like that.
Relatability, yeah.
Which is, we actually had a pass in, not for this build that everyone played, but the current build that we're in. And there's a bit more, I would say, theming, like in terms of what goes where and like what things that would go with weapon upgrades, and you'd be like, okay, like I kind of understand that. And so there's a lot of theming discussions, a lot of relatability discussions. We're still iterating on the look sets of them as well, how they sit in the environment. We're still looking at the looting moment as well. So when you open a container, that it feels really good. Right now, it kind of feels like this like pop in. I know that like some folks feel like that, it kind of like the pop in feels like, or the pop in of the loot when you're going through a container. The searching essentially is what it is.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like, your internet is slow or something. And so we're really trying to make it feel like it's like you're actually searching through, and that feeling really rewarding when you find something in there, whether it's a material or a valuable or something else. So yeah, I think that we're looking at the organization of the materials, what they are, what they're used for, and then, understanding when you find a specific one, you're like, oh yes. The other thing, it's probably, I mean, we haven't had a question about it yet, but I feel like we should talk about it, is bag space and all that kind of good stuff, right, Joe?
Like in terms of like thinking about, we've definitely gone back and forth on a lot of things, including around backspace, which is like, we want you to feel the tension of obviously what you pick up and how much of it you pick up, right? But we also want you to like think more about what, like right now, for example, I would say our looting is very much based on sort of stack value in a size, where it's like, oh, we have a lot of things that accomplish. It's like, how much value do you get stacking something inside of a specific slot, as opposed to getting a variety of different types of values out of things, It's something we've been talking a lot about. And yeah, we might be changing some icon sizes or things like that in the future, or like basically some of the sizing of different types of things inside of your bag, just to make the puzzle a little bit better. But there's a lot of iterations we're going to do on that front. We are going to make it probably a little bit rarer for you to find bags, but we're going to try to make it easier for you to like reliably get them from the black market and things of that sort. So we're shifting some of those equations around.
Yeah, base bag space is always the topic of conversation.
Base bag
space is always the big discussion.
I think we're still talking about base bag space. Like basically the thing is, we don't want you to not feel like you want to get a bag. Right? Like I think it's like, it's weird if you always feel like you have enough space and you don't need a bag. But I do think that we're still one, like we still want to make sure that tension feels right. But yeah.
Facts, Molly. Facts.
So I got a question from Zionless. It says, is there plans to add guaranteed ways to build craft? I heard lots about build crafting, but not being able to get a loadout I designed without hopefully randomly stumbling upon it sounds bad. I would like to see crafting system, or at least have the option to change cores with some material expenses.
I think we're trying to make the lower level of build, like the baselining of build crafting, something that you can establish through your black market a little bit easier, like acquire and build in that way. But there's always going to be like a difference when it comes to high rarity things. High rarity things, like for example, there will be builds that involved having a really rare item that may not be something you can always have. But like we want you to get more involved at the lower level of build crafting, where you feel like you can actually kind of do that kind of thing. But yeah, Andrew, I know you.
I think we agree with the statement that was in the question, which is like, it feels hard to maintain like a build, and we need to we're looking through a bunch of ways, through black market, or like through bartering or something like that, to kind of like be able to get the right verbs. Maybe it's not the same thing that you want, because we still want you to kind of go and loot things, but we want to have you have verbs that you're like, I like when I'm playing glitch, and like this is like the overall verb set I would like for the glitch, and you having more opportunity to be able to go back to that well, versus like, oh, though my access to the well is purely based off of the randomness of the container.
I think that's it. I think it's like, if you think of like if the like lower level version of it, the middle version of it, and the perfect version of it, right? We want you to have access to like the lower or middle version, depending on how you've like done that. But the perfect version of it, I think some pieces will still be things that if you lose them, you'll have to find them again. Right? Yeah.
So Drifter wants to know, is there any discussion on reworking the Resurrection of Dead Teammates system? Would like to see this addressed before launch, as rezzing dead bodies seems free is bad for the tempo of the game.
We concur. Yep, I'll just jump in and say yes, we concur. Yes, we concur. Whereas about a bunch of bunch of work is going into it right now. We basically have our kind of one axis of a solve we have for right now is increasing the resurrection time and also having it so that every time you go down, the timer does get increased. And so if you keep on going down, like you kind of like your ability to come back into, back from the abyss is harder and harder. We're also looking at, we also did a bunch of changes in the alpha around like the timer, a saved progress timer. So when alpha first came out, it saved your progress the entire time, and so you could like get to halfway, take a fight, and then go back and kind of just pay for the half of the res timer. We did have a regressive decay on that, so it goes down. And
I've seen that, Molly.
Too, that if that's not enough, we definitely know that. Resing feels a bit too free. We're also taking a look at the messaging. I know that there's the that little the little stick figure above the bags and stuff that we adorably call the little gentleman above the bags. We're looking at that actually being a tell, so you can't just like camp the bags the entire time. We liked the texture of being able to know whether or not like a crew was downed and like making combat decisions as a crew about that, so you can kind of like coalesce around the information. But I think we're seeing that once you give too much information, obviously like it just like you can have too much action in terms of what to do and where like you can stay in the area knowing that there might be like a clutch play happening or something. So I would say we agree with the baseline is that resing is too free. Yeah. And we're not looking for just purely punishments where if you do get fully dead, like you feel like coming back and being alive is like not worth the time. That's definitely something we don't want to do. And so we're trying to make it so that there is a thing for continuously dying, and then resing does feel really clutch when you do it, but it's not a guaranteed thing.
I know we've talked about it, but I think the sort of place we're trying to land ultimately is that if a person gets downed, resing them, like not downed, but like not completely eliminated, but like downed, right? Like knocked down, resing them in combat is hard, but it's doable. And if they get eliminated, getting them out, like resing them in combat is really, really, really like very almost difficult to do, right? You really want to do it once you've cleared the area. Is that the intent?
Yeah, we want it to be that like doing it in a fight is not as you don't want to take that on as often as you did in the alpha. Like I think that's something we're seeing is that like you saw folks in the middle of a fight go in the back and like res somebody, and then like now it's like the numbers game of it's like okay, it's 2v3, okay, now it's 3v3, okay, now it's 2v2, now it's 1v2, okay, now it's 3v2, and so we're definitely working on that. And so not that we definitely don't want it to like remove it from the game entirely, because we do think that it gives a bit more of that social texture to the crew play, or even like if you're playing whether a duo or a trio or something. But we definitely don't want to make it like the obvious choice where we want death to matter. And I think that there's a feeling I think we got in feedback where death does not feel like it matters.
So I've seen a lot of questions in chat about like, where are the aliens? And there's another question. It's like, where is the 4? Are they coming? You want to speak to any of it?
We have plans for like a lot of alien stuff coming in the future, that we don't really want to talk about. There is some other stuff that has to do with like the 4. We have a touch of it already that we have in testing, but I can't, but I don't know if we're ready to talk about all those plans yet. I mean, like it's content, but it's not kind of we're ready to show yet, if that makes sense. But
yeah, part of like part of the baseline of Marathon right now is the table stakes of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And then we're trying to build, but not like build in like a forever way, but like build aggressively towards the alien friction that I think everyone's kind of like leaning at and kind of like and heading towards, and like in their wants. But we're trying to get there in a way where we get the table stakes, and then we go from there. Even some of our weapons, I know that there was some folks that were just like, where's the 4 rifle, right? Where's the giant pink 4 rifle from the first Marathon game? And we're setting the baseline, but that doesn't mean that we're not invested there or anything. Yeah. It just means that this is the baseline of where we're going to get to. We're definitely conscious of starting from a place that we can grow and get crazier from here. And if you start at full volume, you know, there's kind of no place to go. You're going to get to the ceiling and you crush up against the ceiling pretty fast. But that doesn't mean we're not invested in those areas. I think we're pretty heavily invested.
Yeah, I mean, like
we'll talk
ultimately,
about it.
we're at the start of a journey that we hope Marathon is taking towards, you know, telling a much bigger story, you know, but you want to start at a place that makes sense.
Yeah, there was a really great conversation yesterday about something in this vein, and the excitement was very high in the room about it. So
Yeah.
if you like aliens and mystery, I think we're actively having good conversations about that.
Yeah, they got caught, Michael. That's why they look mad.
I feel like we talk a lot on here. We have conversations about. There's things we're building. I guess I want to say
there are things we're building. There's things we talk about with the goal of building, and then things we talk about knowing we will be building them even further in the future, and all those things are true. Yeah.
They're supposed to be coming back next week though to show us.
It's like what do we do?
All right, we got time for one more question. Are there any plans to expand the verticality of the early game maps by increasing their depth and complexity? For example, by adding more underground locations that could be unlocked through collective community progress or completing some kind of raid-like mechanics?
We've talked about how we use we're probably going to be shifting around how we use some of the existing spaces, to be fair, like in terms of thinking about how we're going to add more complexity in ways that we approach those maps, right, Lars? Like in terms of thinking about it, but like, I know we've talked about how as like a live game, we want to continuously sort of like add to these maps and think about them in the future. But yeah, Lars, I know you guys have talked about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it, where you were just talking about the alien stuff and how we start at the baseline. I think the maps, we think about it in the same way. And obviously, there were some nooks and crannies in the maps that were in the alpha, and it obviously wasn't all of the content we plan to have when the game comes out. And so, but yeah, we see it as, again, creating like this really satisfying baseline and then looking for room to grow and how we increase that complexity over time. And I would say some of the maps, the newer maps that we're working on right now, take that into account even more so than Perimeter and Marsh. Even though we had a lot of those conversations early on about Perimeter and Marsh as well, and then which saw things like the underground sort of gold locked room that was underneath AI Blank, or the sort of twisty and turny tunnels that are underneath bioresearch. And so again, I think it's like starting at the baseline and then figuring out the right things to add and thinking about that approach from first principles going forward too.
All right, Joe, do you want to close us out with anything?
Yeah, once again, I want to appreciate everybody for like sort of not just joining us here, but also whoever participated in the alpha or whoever was part of watching it or just even part of the discourse. We really appreciate it. We're really like excited that a lot of people are interested in sort of seeing where we evolve this game and sort of how we're continuing to iterate on it and make it better. So thank you all for the feedback. Thank you all for the questions. Thank you all for the sort of support and
apologize
and for sharing your feedback and opinions with us. It's
apologize
all super valuable,
again.
and we've been listening. We're like constantly talking about how to tackle it. We're doing a lot of things already to tackle it. We're sorry we couldn't show anything this week. Unexpected conditions came up, but next time we want to be showing you a little bit more about what we're working on, and hopefully that'll be exciting to see. But yeah, thank you all very much. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Art style designer? How about your art? Oh my goodness, this was absolutely unbelievable, absolutely disgusting. Unbelievable the lengths that these people have gone. Unbelievable stuff. Could you apologize one more time? Is that so hard? That's not so hard to do, right? Once again, we do want to greatly apologize. It was not in our, we did not intend, or we didn't know, or we wasn't aware or I don't know, anything. This man right here on your right, look how stressed out he is. Look how stressed he is. Look. Yes. This dude has been looking like this throughout the entire stream. This stream ran from 4 to 5 o'clock. He has an hour with the same face. You don't believe me? Go back and watch the entire hour. This guy, absolutely disgusting. He couldn't turn to him and say, any last words you have? And he couldn't address us like one more time. Like, oh yeah, once again, we greatly apologize. We have reached out to the artist multiple times, trying to work things out. We wasn't aware. Bang. Stay with us. We will fix this. We are gonna get to the bottom of this, and we are gonna do some great things with this game. I don't know. Anything helps. It's unbelievable. These people, this is what I don't understand. The PR firms that these people hire, like, where do y'all get these people at? Where? It's the same thing with Microsoft. Where y'all getting these PR firms at? They suck. Anyways, for those of y'all who came in late, this is where we was at. This happened yesterday. I believe it was yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. It just so happened that they were supposed to do a Q&A today. This happened yesterday. That guy on the right looked like he didn't even get any sleep last night. That guy is so frustrated because that's his job. That's him. That's his job. That's why he read the statement, the opening statement. Which, by the way, the whole first half of that statement was from the dev team that they put out last night when they caught whiff of it. But they got caught stealing this person right here for anti-real, I believe is how you say this on X. That's her Twitter handle. Anti-real. So she goes ahead and says that the Marathon Alpha release recently and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017. Hook claimed posting numerous comparison images. Bungie is, of course, not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade. But clearly, my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. And this was her right here. And these are some of the images that she shared. Okay? Clearly, you see this, you see Marathon. Look at this. Marathon. Okay? That's straight ripoff. So that's what she put. And there's a couple other images, I believe, that's online. And Bungie gets a hold of it, and they come out with a statement last night. And this is what that statement said. We immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of article decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in game. Of course, he no longer works there, right? Of course. It just so happened to be that, right? What a coinky think. They continue. This issue was unknown by our existing art team. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. And we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. Unbelievable. We take matters like this very seriously. We have reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission. Okay? They continue. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artists, and implementing stricter checks to document all artist contributions. We value the creativity and dedication of all artists who contribute to our games, and we are committed to doing right by them. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Hook also claimed that a number of Bungie artists have been following her on social media for a number of years. And these people want to sit up here acting like they don't know nothing. It's absolutely disgusting, bro. The fact that they were sitting up there for an hour discussing the game and nobody cares. I hope they understand that nobody cares. All we was there for was the drama. Where the drama at? Are you going to apologize? Are you going to talk about it? And you spent a little bit more than those little 5 minutes that you spent in that reading that opening statement? Other than those 2 questions that somebody asked them? My goodness. Anyways, where was I? It's absolutely disgusting. Implying we're still here, okay? Implying that they have been aware of her work for some time. I don't want to hear nothing from these people. Shout out to my brother Michael West dropping that 2-bomb. They should drop the game price. They should drop the game. They should delay the game until further notice indefinitely and go rework the entire art style of the game. Because what they saying here, that they are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by the former Bungie artists, and implementing. Well, if you're doing that and we go ahead and take a look at these images, what does that tell you? You know what that tells you? That this is straight jack. You jacking another artist. The whole thing around Marathon, the whole aesthetics, the art style, it's that right here. It's this. So if you're conducting a thorough investigation, that means that the way Marathon looks, you got to scrap the entire game. That's what that means. That's what I'm getting by them writing this right here. Okay? This right here. This. Don't say this and then just leave some of the parts in there and change it up. No, you got to rework the whole game, bro. Because your complete art style revolves, around this. let's continue. This is absolutely disgusting. Quote, this is what she says. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I am tired of designers from huge companies mood boarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living, she wrote. Since her initial post, however, Hook has noted that she has received a wealth of support as well as donations supporting her work, which she says helps enormously. And then they continue on to be saying about the release, September 23rd. Okay, that was that. Okay, fast forward. This is almost the same thing, but let me just, another thing that I wanted to tell you, that this isn't the first time that Bungie has been caught doing this. As it reads right here, Bungie has been accused of plagiarism or uncredited art use in Destiny 2. There have been past controversies over a cutscene that reused a fan's artwork, as well as similar accusations involving official merchandise like the Ace of Spades Nerf gun. I believe, oh, wait. Do they have this image? This right here. This is it right here. So they apparently used this. And you can see it right here. That's the artist that they stole it from, and this is their stuff. This is how they put it. If you look, it is the same thing. And he pointed everything out. That's a straight ripoff. Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades. Look at the Ace of Spades back here. Look at the Ace of Spades right here on the handle. Look at a little Ace of Spades up here. Another one up here. Look at this right here, number 8. Look at this right here, number 8. They even copy these little things up here under Destiny. These little the whatever that says there. Look, they even copied that. Okay, so go back over here. Where were we? Ace of Spades Nerf. In those cases, Bungie did eventually acknowledge the mistake and offered apologies and compensations. So far, Bungie has not commented publicly on the marathon, and that was yesterday. So now we're in here today. These are more images. Okay. Wait. These are more images right here. This is one. Where are we? Another. This is straight marathon, bro. It's a straight marathon. I want to click this one. Okay. So that's that. I showed you these already. Look, it's the whole art style of the game. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That this art style right here is basically that. I thought I had something else. In regards to Bungie. Wait. But and then today, hold on. And then today comes, go back here. Today comes the event. This is it. And here he goes. That art director Joseph Cross, that's his name. Okay, Joseph Cross, I forgot it. Opens up the live stream. Okay. with an opening statement. And where does it start? More artwork. Here it is. Here's the full statement from Joseph Cross during the live stream. It came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon in the early stages of pre-production took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020. The decal sheet included icons and text elements. These elements ended up in our alpha build, and there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight. And we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again at Marathon, on Marathon, or at Bungie. But what? Y'all were just accused of the same thing with Destiny 2 that I just showed you. Did y'all make that same statement then? Or was it different from that? Did you say that these mistakes were not going to happen again? And fast forward, here we are again. Who's in charge of this thing? Unbelievable. A few of the things that we've done over the last 24 hours and what we're doing to shore up the review process as follows. We've reached out to Anti-Real. Thank you. The artist in question. And followed up to ensure that we do right by the artist. How nice of you. We're auditing all the previous work. Look, this is the same statement that we read. That was put out by the development team last night. The internal artists, including the environment decals already in the build, which is a part of why we're delaying some of the content we were going to show today. We're committed to removing anything that is questionably or inappropriately sourced. We're doing a very broad decal audit, and if we locate any other details or elements, we'll make sure that those are eliminated or recreated in-house for sure. What you talking about? Because I got to show you something else. I'm going to show y'all something else. Right after this. So stay with me. This is absolutely disgusting. How you come out here and you're saying out of your mouth, we're either going to remove those or recreate. Let me finish. Hundreds of artists have worked on this project for years, internally and externally, and we share many influences, including modernism, Swiss typography, 2000 style vector art, cyberpunk, and of course the original Marathon trilogy. Our style is a result of all those inspirations, and is also worth noting that none of our external partners who have worked on branding or any part of the visual design of our game were involved with this situation. And lastly, personally, I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for artists who's working independently and producing, making a living doing commercial or fine art. We've worked with many of them. It's one of my favorite parts of the job to make those connections, create content, and collaborate, And so to that extent, I want to send my personal apology to Anti-Real, whose work was used in this case. And I know how unfair this feels. And we're doing everything we can to make this right with her. Her work is fantastic, and we clearly share mutual appreciations for a specific genre of graphic design, and it's very exciting. And I'm excited to have folded that into our style in general. So thanks for listening, and thanks for your patience. And then they go on and continue on like nothing happened. By the way, this little thing, this little statement lasted about 3 minutes. He reads it. 4 minutes pass. Continue with the show. If those people in the chat never asked a question about this again, they wouldn't have brought it up throughout the entire stream ever again. They would have just went on and kept on talking about the game, like if that was what people was there for. Nobody was there for that. We wanted the drama. We wanted to see what y'all was gonna come out here and say. Yapping your mouth for a whole hour about nothing, bro. And it sounds like to me the game is nowhere near done. The way they talking, they out here talking about they still working on everything. Not just little parts of the game. They working on every single part of the game. Still. The game comes out in September. But it's like Skillup said. Bungie likes to throw the game out there and just put the game out and then work on it. Yo, Sotness, I appreciate you, my brother. So, it wasn't just the art style. Okay? It wasn't just the art style. Because what we got here. Oh, yeah. Got right here. It says here. It says right here. This isn't just fonts. Okay? Pay attention. This isn't just fonts. It's aesthetics / vibe, the soul of the game. And shout outs to Joker. This over on Twitter. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and follow him on Twitter. I just found this. I'm like, oh, he hit it. Bing. He hit the nail on the head. This isn't just fonts. It's aesthetics / vibe, the soul of the game. It's color choices / symbology. It's someone's way of looking at the world. Exactly. So how can they sit up here talking about we're either going to eliminate it? This is why I had the issue with what he said. We're either going to eliminate it or recreate it somehow within house. Basically still trying to use some of that creativity, just remap it. That's all you're saying. Unbelievable. Let's continue. It's someone's way of looking at the world. An entire alphabet of language, tactile, visual, mood. It clearly molded the mechanical / story choices of the game. And that's it right there. That's what Bungie did. And these people want to be sitting up here acting like, oh, we just stole it. Oh, I'm sorry. Bro, this is what I'm trying to get to you to understand. That's the entire point of the game. You got to go back and do the whole game again. This is what I'm talking about. You got to go do the whole game again because it ain't going to work. It don't matter. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is the Bungie game. This is Marathon right here. This is it right here. Look. Look. These are her designs. This is not Marathon. These are her designs. What does that remind you of? You would have thought it was Marathon, right? You would have been, oh, that's Marathon. Yeah. Exactly. No. These are her designs. Look. Look at this. Even the type of music that they've used. Now, some of y'all here are on SoundCloud. I'm not going to be able to do it. And I should have done it before, but I didn't. I didn't have time. If y'all want, take one of these songs, go over there, take a listen to it, you know, and write to me in the stream. Does it give you that type of marathon vibe as far as the music goes that we were listening to? Go ahead. It's right there. Go ahead and do it. Go listen to it and come back and let me know how it sounds. Does it give you the same marathon vibes? Aleph, Unfolding Light. Aleph. This is it right here. This is what they're listening to. Electronic. Right here. This one. Aleph. So, they basically stole the entire game from her. They based the entire game around her style. Because you could tell that that art style had a lot to do with the direction that they wanted to go with the game. It had almost everything to do with it. And there was one that it was basically identical, bro. And I'm trying to look for it. That they didn't even change. All they did was change the coloring. Like hers was red, and theirs I believe was like that green, I believe it was. But everything in the poster was the same. All they did was change that. Like, it was ridiculous, bro. And I can't find it. Let me see. If I don't find it here, we're just gonna rock out and keep it moving. Let me see if it's here. Oh, it's this one right here. It's this one right here. Look at this. Look. All right? Pay attention. And now let's look at the other image. What's so different? It's a straight jack move, bro. I'm telling you, bro. They gotta go and rework the entire game. Yeah, I just don't want to play it on the stream. But let me know if it gives you those marathon vibes. But they straight jacked her, bro. Straight jacked her. So listen, man. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this one. I believe personally that they should have ended the stream as soon as he read that statement in the beginning and let everybody know what was going on. They're aware of the situation. We are deeply sorry for what has happened. We reached out to Anti-Real, blah, blah, blah. Give your statement. What you got to do, spend a couple more minutes answering questions in regards to that, because I'm pretty sure there were a lot more questions in the Twitch. And the person reading them the question was just going over them and not even trying to pay mind to them. I'm pretty sure that Twitch was getting blown up with questions. You got to deal with it. Take a couple of those tough questions, answer them, and call it a wrap. We appreciate everybody. You're not going to show us anyway. So what you talking about the game for, bro? What point it is for you to talk about it if you got nothing to show us? So that thing went so bad. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Listen, man. I don't care what happened, who put it. There's no excuse for that. That's point blank, period. There's no excuse for that. Y'all multi-million dollar corporation. Y'all work with Sony. You telling me nobody? Nobody. Mind you, this artist worked on the game and is no longer there. Here comes this guy right here to take over the art style. You telling me this guy right here is not gonna look at the previous artist's moves, at what he did? You telling me that? You want me to believe that? I'm not gonna believe it. I'm not believing that. Because if I'm an artist and I'm coming into this project because y'all let go of the previous artist and y'all want me to take over, you don't think that I'm gonna go and look at the previous artist's work to see what I'm dealing with, to see how, if I want to change it or I want to add on to it or I want to do whatever to it? I gotta look into it. I can't just be like, oh, that's the artwork that he had. Let me get it. Whoop. Here you go. I'm just gonna put this, but we're gonna stick to whatever he was already doing. So what was the point of you coming in? You make no sense, bro. What's the point of you being there if you're using the same design as the previous designer that was there? What I need you for? You make no sense, bro. Then you want to sit up there just like you did, by the way, just like you did in that marathon reveal that we had like a month ago, that you was sitting up there with your this same exact face like you didn't want to be there. Today was worse. Straight trash. Straight trash. Today was worse than the marathon reveal. This dude right here is bored. Bro, quit. Go do something else. That's what I be telling the gaming community. Yo, you don't like the games? Go find yourself another hobby. That's all you gotta do. You don't like something? Leave. Go find another hobby. But anyways, it's unbelievable, bro. And you know, that goes for any situation. Managers at jobs, regular jobs. This happens anywhere. Here comes in new management. They take a look at what old management was doing. What they want to do. They want to start doing things their own way. Yo, but we used to doing this. Well, I'm here now. I'm not doing things like that. Next. Damn, we used to get away with this. Well, not no more. Not no more. So the fact that this man up in here sitting up in here acting like that was the other artist that no longer works here, that was his fault, I don't buy it, bro. I don't buy it. Y'all got caught. Point blank, period. Y'all got caught. Just like you did before. Unbelievable stuff happening here, man. Y'all make sure y'all smash that like button, man. Facts. The like button is free, by the way. In case you didn't know. Let's move on to the next subject here. Absolutely disgusting. I gotta come up in here and look at this man's face right here for a whole hour. Looking like this. Like he bored or something. Like it's our fault. I would have fired his ass right there. I would have caught in that little laptop that he was typing, acting like he was busy. I would have sent him an email right there. Yo, get your ass up from that seat right there that you in right there. Because you're fired. I bet you his face would have changed there. I bet you his face would have changed. He would have seen that email. Looking all sad. He would have seen that. He would have been like, huh? Oh, now you want to act. You're trying to sell a product to people to buy, to spend money on. You want to sit up there like that. I'm telling you. I'm different. I'm telling you. I don't play no games. Y'all rocking with the gifted one, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move on to the next topic of today's show, and here we are. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Make sure y'all smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Click on that link that's pinned at the top. That is for memberships. Y'all go ahead and do that and click. See what we got to offer over here. So in the latest news over at SIE, it seems to me like things are going pretty bad over at SIE as far as all this is happening. Okay? I keep telling you. The music sounds different. Yeah, there's going to be a movie about that. Yeah. I told you about that, bro. They're in the middle of casting right now, bro. They're looking for who's going to act. So here we are. Okay. I keep telling y'all, I know that we just seen the financials for PlayStation and Sony. I know they've hit record-breaking numbers and things of that nature. Congratulations. But, like I said, these companies are never satisfied. They always looking towards the next step. They what you call it? They celebrate for the moment. Very next day, back to work. We got to keep moving. We can't stay still. They're already projecting for the next year. That's going to drop. And they're lucky that Grand Theft Auto's coming out. Because if they didn't come out, it would have kept dropping. Because I don't know what game they coming out with to get the people excited. I'm telling you. So here is the latest news to come out of PlayStation. Haven Interactive Studios founder Jade Raymond departs. My goodness. Jade Raymond, the founder of Haven Studios, which was acquired by Sony Interactive Entertainment in March of 2022, has left the company, according to a Bloomberg report. Why am I not reading this on Bloomberg? I thought I had it up here. Here it is. I'm bugging out. Okay. So, PlayStation leadership didn't give Haven staff a reason for her departure, but it came several weeks after an external test of Haven's first game, the online shooter Fair Games, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Some developers at Haven were concerned about how the game was received and its progress, said the people who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to speak publicly. And they quote, Jade Raymond has been an incredible partner and visionary force in founding Haven Studios, a PlayStation spokesperson said in a statement. We are deeply grateful for her leadership and contributions, and we wish her all the best in the next chapter. Now, we all know that that's a PR statement. We all know that's not how they really feel. Because what contributions? What? Haven Studios. What? What they done? What am I missing something here? Somebody tell me, please. What are we talking about up in here? She just left. Contributions, leadership in what? These people got me up in here on a Friday. All worked up. This is unbelievable. The spokesperson added to the company is committed to supporting Haven Studios and is excited to continue the journey. Meaning what? That the game is still coming out. Don't listen, the game is still coming out. Don't think that the game is getting canceled or nothing like that. The game is coming out. They're going to continue the journey. They're going to put somebody in her place. You're the new whatever. Get to work. With new co-studio heads. Oh, here it is. Here it is. With new co-studio heads, Mary-Eve Danis and Pierre-Francois Sapinski. You understand? Shout out to Sapinski in the building. Fair Games announced in 2023 in one of the few entries remaining in the slate of live service games greenlit by PlayStation several years ago. PlayStation has said that it plans to release more than a dozen titles designed to generate recurring revenue from players, but many of those games were canceled or released to disastrous results, such as last year's Concord, an online shooter that was pulled from stores after less than 2 weeks. Fair Games was originally slated for the release of fall in 2025, but had been delayed to next spring, the people said. I was about to say, if they didn't put the people said, I was about to say. When, who, what, when, where, why. Because I never heard nothing about that. I didn't hear about that. So who they talking about? And if the game was set to release this fall 2025, that means the game should be damn near almost done. The game should be almost done. Just like Marathon. These people coming out September. And these people out here talking like they still working on the entire game, bro. When they spoke about the visuals of the outside that was getting heavily criticized, I'm talking about Marathon. The guy on the right, Joseph Cross, says that they have made tremendous improvements, and that's what they wanted to show today. But mind you, they've been saying all along that that's an alpha. It's an alpha. All you had to say was, as far as the visuals outside, I know we got a lot of criticism, but listen, we keep saying this is an alpha. We know what we need to work on. This whole alpha was intended for gameplay, things, the factions, to see how everything works, how everything is looking so like running so far with servers and things like that. The way you answering people is like, you were right. We didn't need to work on those visuals outside because it was looking ugly. And we made some drastic improvements. That's how you talking, bro. Like if the people were actually right to call you out for having all that grass looking like we running Breath of the Wild on the Nintendo Switch, looking straight ugly. Instead of answering, yeah, but like I told ya, this is an alpha. We know. We expect the visuals on the outside to look really good. My goodness. So, Marathon should be almost complete. It is only 4 months away. Fair Games was scheduled to come out 2025. It should be somewhere in between those lines. Close to done. Almost there in the alpha stage or something. So, I don't know why we haven't seen anything yet for that game. It's a live service game. This is not the next God of War that they trying to keep secretly under wraps. No. This is a live service game. Who cares? Just show the damn thing. Just show it. We've gotten 2 trailers from Grand Theft Auto 6. You telling me we can't get nothing from you? Grand Theft Auto 6 was scheduled to come out in the fall. It has now been pushed to 2026. We've gotten 2 trailers from Grand Theft Auto 6. You telling me we can't get 1 trailer from your ass? A live service game that is projected to flop? You can't show us nothing. Absolutely disgusting. Here we are. It's about to be June. We haven't seen one damn thing about this game. Anyways, Raymond didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. A longtime video game industry executive, Raymond previously worked as Ubisoft Entertainment, SA, Electronic Arts Inc., and Google Stadia. She founded Haven in 2021. There it is. Sony's ass decided to make a whole studio for her, being that she didn't have nowhere to go at the time. And since she was, so popular and so respected in the gaming industry, what Sony decides to do, create her own studio. Here you go. Welcome to PlayStation Studios. Fast forward, she gone. And by the way, if you don't know what she has done, let me walk you through it. Here we are. Pay attention. Jade Raymond. She was born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. She Canadian. Okay? Born in 1975. Okay, here we go. Her first post-university job was a programmer at Sony. Wait a minute. At Sony. Where she eventually helped in the creation of Sony's online first research and development group. This led to Electronic Arts, where she worked as a producer to The Sims Online. Those of y'all back in the days, y'all know how huge The Sims was back in the day. From 2003 to 2004, Raymond joined the G4 group. The G4 program, the Electric Playground, as a part-time correspondent, working with Victor Lucas, Tommy Tallarico, and Julie Stouffer. In 2004, she started working at Ubisoft Montreal, where she led the creation of the first Assassin's Creed game. Raymond went on to become an executive producer of Assassin's Creed 2 and was the executive producer of new IPs at Ubisoft Montreal, which included Watch Dogs and The Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. That's a strong, resume, if you asking me. Let's keep going, though. In January 2010, Raymond moved to Toronto to build Ubisoft Toronto in the role managing director. In 2014, she left. In 2015, she had joined EA and formed Motive Studio, based in Montreal. She was also to be in charge of Visceral Games, located in California, where she worked with games designer and writer Amy Hennig on Star Wars games, and also developed a new original IP. Raymond is also on board of directors of WIFTI, an organization dedicated to advance of women across film, television, and screen-based industry. In January of 2018, though, Raymond was named to the board of directors of the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. In 2018, she was recognized for her trailblazing endeavors across her 20-year career with the Develop Vanguard Award. In 2018, she received the Pioneer Award. The Fun and Serious Game Festival recognized her contributions to the industry as a producer of games that are considered a turning point in the industry. Raymond was one of the few video game execs named in the Variety 2018 and 2019 list of 500 most influential business leaders shaping the global entertainment industry. In October of 2018, Raymond left Motor Studio, alluding to a top secret project. Okay. In March 2019, it was announced that she had joined Google as vice president during 2019 Games Developers Conference. Google affirmed that she will be heading Google Studios Stadia Games and Entertainment to create exclusive content for Google Stadia streaming service. In February 2021, Raymond announced her departure from Stadia Games and Entertainment, and as well as Google. Concurrent with Google's announcement of the wind down of their in-house Stadia Games and Entertainment development studio, she bounced. Fast forward to March 2021, Raymond founded Haven Studios, a new independent development studio, with Sony Interactive Entertainment investing in the studio to create a new original IP for PlayStation. In July of 2022, Sony Interactive acquired Haven Studios, making them a first-party developer for PlayStation Studios. In May 2025, Jason Schreier of Bloomberg reported that Raymond had left the company. Oh my goodness. That's her story. So you take her resume how you want. You can see that as good, as bad. She has done good things. Recently, she hasn't. What? You take it how you want to take it. I think Sony was looking at her resume, all those awards that she was winning. She's a seasoned vet. She knows how to make games. She knows what to do. Let's give her a shot. She's a free agent. She had just left from Google. Probably, let's bring her on here. Let's bring her on over here. And here we are. Instead of just focusing, of trying to acquire proven studios, such as Arrowhead, but because of her name is so big, and just like the Call of Duty guy that got his own studio in SIE, remember, I forgot his name, but that's another new studio that they got under their belt. So they're signing people because of their names instead of signing studios who are proving themselves, like Arrowhead, like Shift Up, like Game Science. So I don't know. But I keep telling y'all, and I'm going to tell you one more time. What goes up must come down. It's not going to stay up there forever. Monthly active users is the new focus. Live service. This woman just left her studio. She's the founder. She's the founder of the studio. And she left it. Where you going? Yo, this is your studio, though. Where you going? Oh, I'm out. Oh, F this. I'm leaving. Who knows what happened? But that's a bad sign. The head of the studio, bro. And Sony still not shutting it down? I would have been like, okay, shut down the studio. What we need that studio for? For what? They're going to keep it open because they're going to continue the journey like they said. So Fair Games, expect Fair Games to come out sometime next year. If they do a showcase this summer, we are going to be expecting to see something about Fair Games. Because the fact that they didn't say, and yes, Fair Games is getting shut down, we're no longer interested or whatever, they didn't say that. So you're alluding that they're continuing the journey. So if you do a showcase, you better show that game. You acting like you got a gold bomb in your hands. Show the damn game off already. And as far as she goes, I better not see that she got another job like this ever again in the industry. This is like the third company she left. I better not see her name talking about she's acquiring a new studio, blah, blah, blah. She got hired. I don't want to see none of that. Her ass better be done after a move like that. You create an entire studio and you leave it. That's good for Sony, though. That's good. Keep taking the hits. Go ahead. Keep taking them. I got to remind you, you don't got Big Daddy Satya behind you. You ain't Microsoft. You are not Microsoft. Sony's has hit a record number because Microsoft is trash. Leading all these years up until today. They have been basically no competition for them. So that's why I kept telling y'all, Sony has been the one company that has been holding the video game industry on its back this entire generation. These past 5 years, it's been Sony. It's been Sony. They put the industry on their back. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where this industry will be right now. But just as fast as they could earn it, they could lose it just as fast as well. So that's why I always say that these companies are always looking ahead. You can't celebrate for too long. You can't take this record-breaking 30 billion and just be like, and be satisfied. Because you start getting comfortable and something really, really bad could happen to your ass. So what they're doing, they focus shifting to monthly active users. Luckily, Grand Theft Auto's coming out, so they don't have to focus on those console sales. Why? Because Grand Theft Auto's coming out. The console's gonna sell itself. So why not shift the focus to monthly active users, to reoccurring, to DLCs, to the store, to try to get you in the store? Why not do that? The console's already gonna sell itself. So that's it for that story. She is a big red flag. She left. She didn't get fired. She left. She left. She better not get another job in this industry. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. Let me see, because I think I had something else here. Let me see. Hold on. But okay. Yeah, that wasn't it. All right. Sorry about that. But anyways, man. You look at everything that PlayStation is doing, bro. Okay? Look. They're raising console prices. Eventually. Remember they said they have to work accordingly to the price, to the tariffs, blah, blah, blah. We're going to see it coming down the pipeline. Okay? All these tariff situations are new. Okay? This wasn't in the plans a year ago. These are new problems that have come up. So remember when Hip Hop told us that the PS5 Pro was set to drop in price? With that GTA, when GTA 6 was coming out and this, that, and the third. Remember that? These tariffs, they were not in place. They were not part of the plan. And here we are today. Sony has to shift. They got to pivot. They're going to raise console prices. They're already raising the subscription services in some of those countries. Okay? Marathon ain't looking good. Concord flopped. Jade Raymond leaves the damn studio that she founded. Okay? That she founded. She left Sony with the studio. So y'all handle that. I'm leaving. They say that it was because of the game. Whatever it is, I don't believe that. You just gonna go up and leave just because of that? Whoa, where you going, bro? You haven't even showed us the game. What y'all talking about over there? We don't even know anything about it. All we know that is a heist game, live service. But we haven't even seen it, bro. So what y'all talking about? You gonna make a decision like that without even the public even seeing it? I don't believe that. Like if Marathon, if Ziegler was to leave or whoever after the backlash, that's understandable because they've shown the product to the public. Okay? The public received it. They didn't like it. Backlash, this, that, and the third. Ziegler can't handle it. I quit. I'm leaving. Understandable. Jade Raymond, on the other hand, we haven't seen a damn thing. You telling me that because y'all was behind the scenes and you showed it off to a couple of staff members or whoever it is, test playmakers, and you go and you didn't got like the response and you leaving because of that? That don't make no sense. You the founder. You telling me the founder is going to leave? Not even a developer or something. The founder of the company. That don't make no sense. It's straight facts up in here. This is absolutely ridiculous. Get to remember Mark Cerny's working on this game as well. That's what we heard. That's what we heard. I don't know why they don't mention it, but that's what we heard. But this is straight ridiculousness right here happening. I don't buy it. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. We're going to keep it moving to the next topic. But anyways, before we move on, just remember all those points that I told you. Tariffs was not in the plans. They're in the plans now. All those plans that they might have had before him, they might be getting thrown out the window. Prices is going up. consoles going up. Totoki already told us console prices, they gotta adjust accordingly to the market. Okay, those are words that came out of Totoki's mouth. Accordingly, tariffs, Marathon, Concord, Jade Raymond. Not only Marathon, the game sucks. They out here stealing artwork from other people, thinking they asses ain't gonna get caught. Monthly active users, they shift. Monthly active users is the new focus. They already know Microsoft left the building. Xbox left the building. Why focus on consoles when we could just focus on monthly active users? The console's gonna sell itself anyway. But that's besides the point. The point is that they're shifting their focus. So, because you could ask yourself, why not continue to hammer down on those console units? Why not, knowing that Xbox is out the window, is out the door, why not put your foot on the necks and try to sell as go hard as far as marketing consoles and be the lead dominant? Try to get over that 160 million PlayStation 2 number. Try to get over that. Why not? They're shifting their focus. Y'all make the decision right there. We got all that I just mentioned. We got Naughty Dog out here taking L's out here. Last of Us Season 2 is looking out here straight trashness. So that's leaving a bad taste in people's mouths. We got Intergalactic out here that people already dismissing. Santa Monica, I mean, Insomniac is out here. I understand what happened with Insomniac with the hacking, but we haven't seen anything from that yet. Housemarque is a consistent studio. Look at them. They're coming out with another game. And they've had the best game this generation. And they're already coming out with another one. Unbelievable. Nobody knows where the hell Cory Barlog is. Where are you? Where are you? We taking L's out here. Where you at? Where everybody at? Y'all got powerhouses over there. Come out here and make a statement. Over here talking about internally, we don't know whether to do a state of play or showcase. Bring the damn showcase out. It's showtime. We ain't got no more time to waste with state of plays. It's showtime. Your asses need to come outside and let everybody know who you are. And remind everybody who you are. You got the best studios on the planet outside of Rockstar. You got the best studios on the planet outside of that one studio whose name is Rockstar. Outside of that, Sony got them. You got the best architecture, one of the greatest minds within your camp, that being Mark Cerny, delivering us a PS5 Pro that's out here doing incredible, working magic out here. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Y'all just hired another studio, LFG. To do what? That's another live service game. We never even heard of them. That's a brand new studio. They talking about they working on games. They might even show us something, they said. How long y'all been working? I thought y'all just got signed to them. I thought y'all just came together as a team and created this LFG. They over here talking about they already got something to show. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm talking about. All of that happening. Like I said, Sony is doing good because like I've told y'all before, PlayStation is just the default console. Okay? You got to understand that. PlayStation is the default. Anywhere you ask anybody, yo, you got a PS5. You don't go around asking, yo, you got Xbox? You don't do that. You gotta be a fan of Microsoft or Xbox, that you come from the 360 days, and that's what you're used to, that platform. You gotta be in that, group of people to own an Xbox, or a hardcore gamer in the industry, that within the gaming community, things like that. But other than that, nobody talking about an Xbox console. Everybody talks about a PS5. Got a PS5, and all the sales numbers show it and prove it, i.e. Call of Duty. So, Sony is doing that good because the PlayStation is what it is. It has just become the default station for a console. Even for a casual, you just want to play Call of Duty. That's all you got time for. You work all day. You got a family. You do this. You take care of that. The only little time you get to play when you pick up that control is Call of Duty for a couple hours, and that's it. Even if you're that gamer, you're doing that on a PS5. You're not doing that on an Xbox, because chances are that whoever you play with, or even NBA or whatever it is, they got PlayStation 5s too. And even if it's cross-play, it don't matter. It's just the fact that they got it too. You want the same thing. You want to be on that same platform. So it's the default console. But as far as console sales go now, they're shifting away from that. Instead of doubling down, now that Microsoft, Xbox has left the building, try to go for that 160 million. Try to go for 200. People already came out, such as Sean Layden, talking about the days of selling over 100 million consoles. It's about to be a wrap. You're not going to see that no more. The PS5 generation right now, this is it right here. The PlayStation 6 is not going to oversell the PS2. It's not taking that throne of 160. It might not make it where the Switch is at 150 something. It might not make it to where the Game Boy is, which is at like 115 million, I believe, or something like that. Prices are going up. PS6 comes out. You think that's going to cost $500? That ain't costing no $500. Everything going up. People hesitate to buy a $70 game. You think people ain't going to hesitate if they put out the PS6 to be $650 or $700? You think people not going to hesitate? People gonna hesitate. So they need a showcase. ASAP. ASAP. They need a showcase. Marathon out here looking, Bungie's out here looking disgusting. Where everybody at? Team Asobi is out here saving the day. Could you imagine that? Team Asobi is out here saving the day. Imagine that. Third-party titles. You got AC Shadows, Kingdom Come, Split Fiction, Doom the Dark Ages. What was the other games that came out? NCAA football, Madden, Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals, out here saving the Forza Horizon 5, Indiana Jones, Gears Reloaded had just been introduced. Third-party titles out here holding it down. Hard body, too. So where y'all at, bro? It's time, bro. There comes a point that it's just time. It's time. Come out here, let it be known. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. You understand what I'm saying? It's straight facts up in here. Yo, Lunchi, I got you, my brother. I seen that. Good looking, bro. Nintendo admits that the Switch 2 won't support VRR on TV after all. Okay. This, I believe, will be updated. Didn't they say they're doing like some day one patch or something like that? I don't know what the patch consists of, but that's why the reviewers aren't getting this pre-launch, due to the fact that Nintendo has a what you call it, a patch that's supposed to be coming out. So I don't know what's going on. You do get it while you're in handheld mode, so that's good, right? That's good, but you can safely assume that they will be updating this, and they're gonna patch it, and we will have VRR on dock mode on the new Nintendo Switch 2. Ain't nothing out here to worry about. I mean, what? What? Ain't nothing out here to worry about, bro. It is what it is. Don't buy it. Wait until the update comes, the VRR comes on it, then go buy it. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. Just go buy it. Might not be online. You might have to go to the store in person. Go out there. You're going to find one. Trust. You're going to find one. But anyways, that's it for that story right there. I ain't got much to say about this. People out here making this big news. It's whatever to me. I feel like they're gonna update it once at some point, and they'll get VRR support, and that's it. You understand? And I believe they even said this. They said this somewhere, that it was only handheld mode, that it was supposed to be VRR. At least for the beginning part, the launch. I'm not sure what else they said, but I do remember seeing something like that. So I don't know. Y'all will have to tell me, because I know I saw that somewhere. You got Digital Foundry out here talking straight nonsense about final specs, and then they out here talking about, speculation. So it ain't no damn final specs. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. We're going to move on to the next topic of the show. Okay? Let me get to what my boy Lunchi saying, though, real quick. Before we continue. Let me get to what my boy Lunchi saying real quick to y'all. So, apparently, Call of Duty calls it a wrap for Warzone Mobile. And this is what they got to say. We deeply appreciate your dedication and passion for Call of Duty Warzone Mobile going forward. We will be streamlining the scope of the game. This decision was made after careful considerations of various factors, and while we're proud of the accomplishment in bringing Call of Duty Warzone to mobile in an authentic way, it unfortunately has not met our expectations with mobile first players like it has with PC and console audience. I mean, who works for these people? I mean, duh. But you needed to go through all this in order to find out that information? I could have told you this a long time ago. People don't game on phones Call of Duty. When you're on a phone gaming, you probably at a doctor's appointment, waiting for somebody, at home. You might have a couple minutes. Y'all watching TV, something on the TV that you don't like. You might take your phone out, play some Plants vs. Zombies. I don't know. Some Tetris, some Solitaire. Quick games. Candy Crush. Think I'm going to whip up my phone and be like, yo, get him right there. Oh, he got me. Damn. I could have been told you this. People don't do mobile gaming for hardcore games. At least I don't. All I want to do is take my phone out, play some Plants vs. Zombies, play some Tetris, things like that, to kill some time. As a result, we will no longer be delivering new seasonal content and gameplay updates to the mobile version, effective immediately. Players will no longer be able to purchase Call of Duty points or black sell using real currency in Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. Sunday, May 18, that's this Sunday, 2025, will be the last day the game can be downloaded from the Google Play and Apple's App Store, and social features across the mobile platforms will be retired. Players who have the game installed before Monday, May 19, will still have access to the game with continued cross progression of shared inventories using existing content and servers with matchmaking for online play. Any unspent COD points can also be redeemed in-game toward available in content in the store. In the store. Yo. They finally got the point. They finally got the point. I wonder how much money was put into all this. I don't know. But they finally got the point. I could have been told you that. Yeah, that ABK deal was bad for the gaming industry, bro. That ABK deal was bad for the gaming industry, but it's good for them. You understand? That's why this is a dog-eat-dog world. That's why. Because at that moment, what does Microsoft do? They thought about themselves. They don't care about the industry, the community, the gaming space. They don't care about that. They didn't care if this was going to ruin the entire industry and basically almost suck the life out of it. They didn't care. All they cared about was, we want that ABK deal. It's a dog-eat-dog world. And they keep on proving it. Everywhere. Not just here. Not just in gaming. Everywhere. So get with it. Get with it. Oh yeah, I know, bro. I know. But yeah, this is the latest news to come out of this. Let's see what happens with Call of Duty, man. Call of Duty is a game that it needs to get its aura back. It ain't looking good for Call of Duty, even though the players are still gonna be there, because it's an addiction. I keep telling y'all that. Because people are going to say, oh, but they still got this. Look how much it sold. Look, this. I'm telling you why it's selling all that. Because it's an addiction. It's just something that you're used to doing. It's a habit. Do you have a habit right now that you can't get rid of? It's exactly that. It's that hard. If you try to get rid of it, at what point are you going to relapse? You're just going to come back to it at some point. Because it's something that you're just so used to doing over and over and over again. It's a quick game. You pick up a controller, log in, get in the quick play, couple round lobbies, gun in your hand. You shooting people. Hello. It ain't no rocket science. It's straightforward. Pick up a controller, select your gun, and go start shooting. But anyways, this is it right here. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. Lunchi, I appreciate you, my brother. Facts. You understand what I'm saying? Facts. And on this whole mobile thing, since we're on it and all that, let me take you over here, because Apple has apparently blocked Fortnite's return to the iPhone in the United States. And here it is. Okay? Fortnite maker Epic Games announced that this morning they said the move by Apple would mean its game was now offline worldwide in iOS devices. The Evergreen Battle Royale had been back on iPhone in the European Union via the mobile version of the Epic Game Store available in the EU, but this version too has now gone dark. Apple has blocked our Fortnite submission, so we cannot release to the US App Store or to the Epic Game Store for iOS in the European Union, Epic Games said in a statement on social media. Now, sadly, Fortnite is on iOS will be offline worldwide until Apple unblocks it. Yesterday, Epic Games was forced to pull and then resubmit its application to have Fortnite return to iPhone to ensure it included this week's update for the game, which ended up being delayed until this morning. According to Epic boss Tim Sweeney, Apple has sat on the submission of Fortnite for days, despite the submission process typically being swift, and had not returned the company's calls. Okay, Epic Games and Apple have of course been locked into a long-running feud after the former added in-game purchase points that circumvented Apple's typical store, a move which got Fortnite booted from the App Store and Google Play on Android. Okay, so for those of y'all who don't know and what that means, basically it was this. Okay, this is what happened, and this is why Apple don't want them in their store, because Apple blocks them because Epic Games attempted to bypass Apple's commission system for in-app purchases. In 2020, Epic Games launched a direct payment system for in-game purchases, which would have bypassed Apple's 30% commission. This action led to Epic Games' removal from the App Store. So what you want them to do? These people right here, as big as Fortnite is, They trying to get. This is what I'm telling you. You can't be complacent. You can't stay still. You got to keep growing. These companies want to keep on growing. As big as Fortnite is, they could be even that much bigger if they were allowed back into the Apple Store. Just think about it. Apple is the most wealthiest company in the world. So just think about it. These people go ahead and mess that up. This is what I'm telling you. These people are ridiculous. Go to Apple with an offer that Apple can't refuse. Money talks. But I bet you they wanted to just get back in and give them the 30% again, like if it's all good. Apple looking at that like, nah. But if they would have made them an offer that they can't refuse, they're pretty sure they would have been like, you know what? Approved. You back in the Apple Store. I mean, it damn near went from 30% to almost 60, 50-50. At least give them a 50-50 deal. Maybe that would have helped. Who knows? But whatever. That's what happened. That's why they're not allowed back in the Apple Store. And that's it right there. You understand what I'm saying? It's facts. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one right there. We're going to keep it moving. Okay? Real quick, just to touch on this, I'm not going to read this. So it's not too long. But anyways, since I did bring you this earlier before, from that whole thing that happened with when those employees was protesting with Microsoft 50th anniversary and things like that with Azure and AI tech, right? Harming people in Gaza or whatever. They have come out with a statement now and said that that's false, basically. Microsoft says that they found no evidence that the Israeli military has used its Azure and AI technology to harm Palestinian civilians or anyone else in Gaza. The software maker, I'm just going to read this first paragraph right here. The software maker, where are we? Says it has conducted an internal review and engaged an external firm to perform a review after some Microsoft employees have repeatedly called on the company to cut its contracts with the Israeli government. All right. So that's what's going on. Apparently they found nothing. Let's see what happens after that. And we'll go on from there. Any update or whatever it is, if it falls on my lap and I find it, I'll bring it to you. Okay. So that's just the latest right there. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to stay over at Microsoft and let's shift over to the Hollywood Reporter because it is now being said that the Gears of War movie lands David Leitch as the director, exclusive over here at the Hollywood Reporter. So here we are. So Leitch and Kelly McCormick will produce the Netflix video game adaptation via their 87 North banner along with the gaming company, The Coalition. The Fall Guy director is in negotiations to helm Gears of War, Netflix's big budget adaptation of one of the biggest video game franchises on the Xbox platform. So wait, there it is right there. I thought they said something about McCormick. Leitch and his wife. Also, that's his wife. So Leitch and his wife, producing partner, Kelly McCormick, will produce the feature via their 87 North banner. Okay, along with Coalition. Okay. Netflix had no comment on the deal making. And let me see. Okay. Yeah, they don't say nothing about casting or nothing like that. Let me see. So, real quick, coming out of the stunt world, Leitch is slowly crafting a wide-ranging resume. Let me show you what he has done, as even he stays in the action lane. Fall Guy, that's starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, was a kiss to the stunt and movie-making community. The Brad Pitt-led Bullet Train was a contained, twisty assassin thriller while Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw was a franchise play. Also on this list are comic book movie Deadpool 2 and the period spy thriller Atomic Blonde. Leach is now in prep on How to Rob a Bank, a heist thriller for Amazon MGM that will star Nicholas Hoult and Anna Sawai. Read by CAA and Johnson Shapiro. So there it is. There it is. All right. Be on the lookout for that. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. We're going to keep it moving to the next topic of the show. And here we are. Red Dead Redemption 2 continues with 74 million copies sold to date. You understand what I'm saying? That's Rockstar. There they are. 74 million. And by the way, if that number isn't impressive, Red Dead Redemption 2, pay attention. They moved 4 million copies alone since February this year. You think about that. Think about it good. This year. So that's February, March, April, May. 4 months. In 4 months, these people have sold 4 million copies of Red Dead Redemption 2. 4. There it is right there. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. Also with Red Dead, it is reportedly going to the Switch too, as Take-Two commits to Nintendo. Here is what they got to say. We really feel good about it, but it was always remains to be seen, he said. We're offering more on launch support than ever before for a Nintendo platform. We've announced 4 titles for the Switch 2. It remains to be seen how it does, but I'm a big believer. And we basically risen to the challenge and opportunity, and we'll see how it goes. We voted with our feet. Nintendo has asked us to be supportive, and we do believe we're doing that. Now we will see what happens. They also said that not every game is going to Nintendo. That's what they said. All right. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. Moving on to the next topic. Stellar Blade PC dev discussing region lock issue with Sony. So here it is. This is Stellar Blade. This is what they had to say on Twitter. We are closely discussing the region lock issue with the publisher and doing our best to resolve most of it as soon as possible. As shown on this test chart below, the DRM has been hard-tuned to maintain the same average frame rate with even higher minimum frames in some cases. Mods are fully supported without any restrictions. PSN connecting entirely optional and never required. Both PC and PS5 versions offer the same content. So, by the way, they were acting like that. People were saying that the modding was gonna be no. The pirating. Modding is fully supported. Pirating the game, they have said now that they have added the Nouveau. So that's apparently causes issues as far as the pirating of the game goes. But then a lot of people are saying that they don't like the Nouveau because it messes with the performance of the game. So a lot of people don't like it. As you see here, incompatible with older hardware. It has activation issues, frames per second drop. It increases loading times, system crashes, game save corruption, CPU uses overload, blocking mod support, delayed patch fixes, and a whole bunch of stuff. So this is what people are mad about, apparently. But real quick, this is what it does right here. And these are the specs for the game, which I read to y'all yesterday. But that's it right there. They are blocked in over 100, I believe, and 29 countries. Here it is. 129 countries. You don't need a PSN account, but the game is blocked in those countries. So we don't know. We don't know. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that one. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to cross over. We're almost at the finish line. We're over here with our boy Kojima, talking about he got a USB stick with a bunch of his ideas after he passes away. He says here, turning 60 was less of a turning point in my life than my experiences during the pandemic, he told Edge. I fell seriously I fell seriously ill at the time and also had an eye operations. Until then, I didn't think I was old. You know? I just didn't feel my age. And I assumed I would be able to create for as long as I live. But then I became sick and I couldn't create anything. I saw lots of people around me passing away at that time. I was confronted with death. Of course, I recovered, but now I was thinking, wait, how many years do I have left to make a game or a film? Perhaps I have 10 years? Kojima says since he's reevaluated his priorities for how he should spend his remaining years, he said he had considered directing a film, but directors Guillermo del Toro and Nicholas Winding Refn, who both appear in Death Stranding, advised him to stick to video games. During his illness in this pandemic, Kojima said he realized a lot of fans wanted him to make something like Metal Gear, which is why he decided to create the espionage game Physint with Sony. So he says here, quote, I gave a USB stick with all of my ideas onto it to my personal assistant, kind of like a will. Perhaps they could continue to make the things after I'm gone at Kojima Productions. This is a fear for me. What happens to Kojima Productions after I'm gone? I don't want them just to manage our existing IPs, close quote. And that's what our boy, none other than the great Kojima, had to say about that. Shout outs to Kojima, man. We looking forward to Death Stranding 2, my brother. And we glad that everything worked out for you, and we glad that you are healthy, my brother. You understand what I'm saying? It's facts. We're going to continue on. To the final topic. And here we are. What time is it? Probably 7. I'm going to leave this article for another day. It's a long article. I got to go through it. I got to do that. I got to do this. And you know what? I don't feel like going through it right now. So, yep, I went through everything. So, that's going to be the show for today, people. That's going to be the show for where we at? Where am I? But yeah, that's it right there. I gotta go see what I'm gonna do. Probably go do some gameplay. I want to play some. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about all that. Appreciate everybody who stopped by today. Thank y'all to the members of the channel. I appreciate y'all very much, man. For keeping the chat alive as well. Thank y'all so much. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share out the stream, click on that link for the memberships up top. Those of y'all on Twitch, appreciate y'all very much. We got all the links in the chat. We got my Twitch, my Twitter, and the memberships. You understand what I'm saying? It is your boy, the gifted one here, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. I'm gone.